effect here in the United States. And nobody's really interested in world events and things like that until it starts happening here, until your electricity goes off, until you can't find bread and milk and meats and things like that, and you can't feed your family, and your businesses are closing. Then you start getting concerned. But then it's too late. So I'm begging you now, please prepare yourself, prepare your family. Don't panic, just prepare. Don't panic, prepare. There are short-term plans and there are long-term plans. And so what I want to do right now is I want to give you guys a short-term plan to prepare. It's called a 10-day plan to prepare. Now, yes, to do this plan, you have to have some money. And you have to have some ambition, and you have to have some dedication. So in this plan, the 10-day plan, so the first day, which would be tomorrow, I want you guys to go, or today, you can start today if you want. I want you guys to go get food for as many months as you can afford. As many months as you can afford. You need to at least start out with 3 months. If you can't do 3 months, then start out with at least 72 hours worth of food in your home. The second day, I want you to store up water and cleaning supplies. And what I mean by cleaning supplies, water and then cleaning supplies for your body, for your dishes, for your clothes, things like that. And then supplies to purify water in case the water is contaminated. So that's day 2. Day 3, I want you to get medical supplies. And that means first aid supplies, meaning things that if you cut your finger, that you'll have enough for at least 30 days of getting your finger cut every day for 30 days. And that's a pretty big pile of bandages. But I want you to get that. And then I want you to get whatever medications that you require. If you have blood meds or whatever, you need to have at least 6 months of that. I know that's hard to get, but you need to sit down with your doctor or sit down with a couple of doctors and you need to make that decision. You figure out how to do that. If you're diabetic, you're in a bad situation, but you're going to have to, if you can change your diet to get out of diabetes, you need to do that. But if you can't and you have to have medication, then you certainly need to start figuring out how you're going to store it without electricity. So that's a big deal. And then you're going to need some antibiotics. You're going to need whatever, think about what antibiotics you've taken in the last 2 years that were prescribed by your doctor, and then stockpile at least that. How do you do that? You go with your doctor and you say, listen, I need to get an emergency stockpile of antibiotics. I need you to prescribe them to me. I need you to sit down and look over my medical records and see what I'm allergic to. All this kind of stuff. And then there's things online where you can go and buy a whole, I think it's called Jace Medical, I can't remember, but you can buy a whole group of antibiotics, broad spectrum. But if you cut your finger in an SHTF situation, it gets infected and you don't have antibiotics, you've got a problem. All right, the 4th day, I want you to get self-protection and learn how to use it. Now, you're not going to learn how to use self-protection in 1 day, but you can go to the gun store and you can start picking out, you can find an instructor and start picking out what weapon fits your hand, fits the way you're going to carry it, and is reliable. How do you know if it's reliable? I see a lot of people buy weapons, they go out to the range, they think they have something great, they shoot it 4 or 5 times and it jams 2 out of 3 times. And they're like, why is this jamming? Well, the weapon sucks. It's a piece of shit, okay? They sell shit. You know, maybe your ammo sucks. But anyway, whatever the situation is, if you need to get your weapon and start shooting it. Buy 3 times more ammo than you think you're going to need. Take 1/3 of that and train with it. And I would strongly suggest to buy maybe 3,000 rounds if you can afford it, and take 1,000 rounds and shoot and learn how to shoot. Find you an instructor and shoot. Nothing replaces trigger time. I know you can say, well, I got a laser and I got all this shit. but the laser doesn't show you recoil. It doesn't show you if that weapon is going to be dependable. So please get you a weapon and learn. If you're not able to get a pistol or a rifle or a shotgun, then get a blade. Get something. Get mace. Whatever you feel comfortable with, but get it. Day 4. Day 5. Once again, you got to have money. Get some cash on hand. Now, how do I get cash on hand? Sometimes you can get cash on hand by simply going out in your barn and selling the shit that you don't need. You can go in your closet, and if you got 3 of something, sell 1 of them. I mean, you can just do nickel and dime stuff. Next thing you know, you got a couple $100. Next thing you know, you got a couple $1,000. You know, sometimes I know people that's got so much stuff sitting in their yard or sitting in their barn that shit, they could have $500,000 worth of stuff. I mean, I know guys that's got bulldozers and tractors and shit they never crank. You know, trailers they never use that they could easily take to an auction and turn into cash. So get cash on hand. Now, when I say cash on hand, think about also that cash is going to be useless after SHTF. So the cash on hand is so you can buy these other things that you need. If you want something that's going to sustain through SHTF, I would strongly suggest gold, silver, or lead. Day 6, harden your home. That's a good one. Okay, so you're starting to get all this other stuff together. Now on day 6, we're going to harden our home. How do we do that? So what we're going to do is we're going to imagine how someone would break into your home. Everybody starts with their doors. Then we're going to put better doors up. We're going to have doors that don't have windows on them. We're going to have doors with bolts. We have doors with bars on the inside that you can lay across the door, and if it does get kicked down, you still ain't coming through. And then we're going to look at our windows. We're going to say, how hard would it be for somebody to just take a rock, throw through our window, and step into our house? If it's easy, then you need to fix that. You need to put bars on it. You need to put shutters. You need to put anything that will stop that. Then you need to start looking at your property in general. Start looking at 100 feet from your house, 1,000 feet. You know, you might live in the city. It might be a totally different thing. I'm talking country life here. You need gates. You need fences, things like that. And then get one of your buddies that is an ex-Army guy and have him come over and say, how would you break into my house? And then when he tells you, then you fix those things. Day 6. I'm sorry, that was day 6. Day 7, be ready to work without electricity. That's a big one, especially in Florida, because it is hotter than, I don't want to say it. It's hot here, okay? I was telling my wife yesterday, if the electricity goes off here, and I'm partially crippled as it is, if the electricity goes off here, we're going to have a problem, because we're going to have to come outside like I am right now, and we're going to have to figure out how to at least keep from having a stroke from the heat. And then, of course, how do you store your food? How do you preserve things? How do you keep your house from molding? You know, all these things. How do you do it without electricity? Well, I got a generator. Okay, how do you do that without fuel? Because there's not going to be any fuel at the gas station if there's no electricity. Basically, you got to go back and think like the frontier people. How did they do it? And then you got to kind of be ready in the back of your mind to switch into that mode. And it's not easy. I mean, this stuff I'm talking about on this page here is absolutely hard. That's why 90% or 99% of the people are not going to make it. All right, day 8. What are we going to do on day 8? Day 8, we're going to learn how to plant a garden. And we're going to get our seeds. I'm doing a whole gardening class, doing an entire gardening class. And I have taken all kind of gardening classes. I have researched. When I go to plant something like a squash, I research squash from A to Z. I find out, and right now is the time to do it, because after electricity goes off, you're not going to have YouTube, you're not going to have Google, you're not going to have all these things that you're relying on right now. All you're going to have is things that are printed in paper and probably at your home. So get you some gardening books, put them on the shelf, learn. You have to practice. It's kind of like gardening is kind of like being a physician. You're always practicing gardening. You're never an expert in gardening, because when you get it all done, there's always something else you need to learn. So pick out what grows good in your area. Learn everything you can about it. If it's grapes, then learn everything about grapes. If it's corn, learn everything about corn. And then you'll have to research this stuff to death and then practice it. Plant it, water it, fertilize it, see how it works in your area, in your soil. So we're going to do another video on gardening, but day 8 is the plant a garden day. So we're going to work on day 8, and that's plant a garden. All right, now day 9. Set a schedule to get in shape. This is huge. I would say about 75% of Americans are overweight and out of shape. And they don't have time to do it, or they prioritize, you know, vacations and shit like that above getting in shape. And they prioritize the TV when they get home from work and the ice cream without getting in shape. And I'm guilty. I'm guilty of the same thing. So I'm just telling you kind of what I'm guilty of. But people that are in shape are harder to kill, and they're harder, and they survive better in the elements. You know, there's just so many benefits to being in shape. You know, it helps with your diabetes. It helps with your heart attacks. It helps with your cognitive functions, things like that. And, you know, and I suffer from a plethora of stuff because I was in a wheelchair for a long time, and I can't move my legs properly, and I have spinal cord injuries, things like that. So getting in shape is hard in my situation. But if you're fit, I mean, if you're fit, meaning you can walk and you can run and you can, you know, climb hills and shit, you don't have any excuses. Okay? Get your ass in shape. You're gonna be hard to kill when shit hits the fan. Okay? All right, day 10. Put together a bug out plan and be ready to go if something happens. And people always say, well, I'm not bugging out, I'm not going anywhere. Well, I feel the same way. I'm not leaving the place I know, where I know where the rabbits live, I know where the deer live, you know, I know where things grow well, I know my neighbors, I know all this. But if Russia sets off a nuke in Pensacola and all that nuclear fallout is falling in my direction, and they tell me it's not going to be habitable for 6 months, I got to get my ass out of here. Okay? I got to load up as fast as I can and go somewhere in a safe zone. And probably not going to be many if Russia's firing nukes. But also, I always say I'm not leaving here in a hurricane unless it's above a Cat 3. Well, last year it was a Cat 5. We left. We packed up our stuff, went up to Georgia, and stayed in a hotel for 2 days and came back. Real simple. It was really, really simple. And he came back, and a lot of the community was destroyed. Luckily, our place wasn't. But if we would have stayed here, it could have been really rough trying to be, you know, wheelchairs and crap like that. And plus, we got young children, things like that. It's just better sometimes to grab your gear and go out for a couple days and come back. So have a plan for that. At least have a plan. Or at least have some bags marked and have a checklist. And the checklist tells you, what I need to throw in the car, how much gas I need, and then have some routes planned. Of where have a place where you're going to go if X, Y, or Z happens, and then have some routes planned to that, and then have some gas on hand. And don't wait till the last minute. If you wait the last minute, you have more of a chance of getting hurt on the road than staying at home. So this is just a quick 10-day plan. And I know there's a lot of stuff in 10 days in this list. And you got to have some money. You know, I fully understand, the single parent that's working 2 jobs just to pay their bills that can't even think about doing this plan. And I feel for you. What I would suggest to you is to join a prepper group and get with people that are good people that do have a plan. And make the plan with them now. Ask them, what can I do to help you so I can come and join you guys in the event something goes wrong? And they may say, yeah, if you help us grow this garden, we'll help take care of you when shit hits the fan. Or they may say, if you do certain help with us now, or you might have some assets that they don't have. A good example is you might have an old car that won't fail during the EMP. And then so you could bring that car into the group, and then they help you with food and water and shelter. I mean, these are things that you can consider. So I encourage you to at least think about the list I just talked about. I mean, you may not be able to do it all. You may only be able to do one or two things. If you can do one thing, put together 72 hours of food, at least you're that much further ahead if electricity goes out. If you can do one thing and get a firearm and learn how to use it, then at least maybe you won't get mugged or people won't ride up and steal what you do have. You know, just anything on this list. There's 10 things on this list, and I really want you guys to think it through. Don't just do what I say, but I want you to think it through, because I'm sure somebody out there right now saying, well, you missed this, you missed that, and you missed the other. Good, I'm glad you're thinking that. I'm glad you're thinking it through. Please go think it through. Okay? Well, like always, go out and make your space, your family, yourself, your fellow warrior better.